Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is everything you need to know about Stranger Things before you watch Season 5. Now, Season 1 of this show kicked off in the early 80s, but the story of Hawkins actually begins in 1947 when Henry Creel was born with telepathic powers. The powers are the result of experiments conducted on his father during World War II, but they made Henry a social outcast, which led him to develop a weird fascination with spiders and some major family issues. Now, in the Broadway show Stranger Things: The First Shadow, we get more backstory on Henry and his time at Hawkins High in 1959. He befriends and falls for Patty Newby, Bob Newby's sister. Henry kills several animals accidentally with his mental powers, and young Joyce, Hopper, and Bob investigate. After Henry attacks Patty and her father, his mother sends him to Dr. Martin Brenner. Brenner reveals that his own father was sent to the Upside Down through an experiment in 1943. When Henry was little, he accidentally stumbled into another Upside Down experiment and was exposed to the Mind Flayer, leading to his mysterious powers. Henry resists Brenner's control and goes home. He gives in to the Mind Flayer's influence because of his anger at his family, accidentally killing his mother and sister. Brenner tries to kill Patty to gain control over Henry, and Henry tries to save her. Henry then loses control and almost kills Patty, so he agrees to return to the lab with Brenner. Patty survives and goes to Las Vegas, and Henry's father, Victor, is arrested for the murders of the Creel family. Henry is then adopted by Dr. Brenner, who tells him to call him Papa, which should have been his first red flag. The second being that he was also a researcher for the MK Ultra project.
The new Mortal Kombat game?
No, it's actually much more brutal. The MK Ultra project was a real, illegal human experiment run by the CIA that started in 1953 with the goal of developing procedures and identifying drugs to be used in interrogations to weaken individuals and force confessions. Now, before this was shut down in 1973, it tested everything from LSD to electroshock therapy for the best ways to brainwash America's enemies and psychologically torture them. This is what Dr. Brenner was working on when he found Henry and began running his own illegal human experiments in an attempt to replicate Henry's abilities. Now, eventually, Brenner began testing his findings on new human subjects, which led to a new generation of mutants. He assigned all of them a number and tattooed it on their arm. Now, we know there were 18 in total, but as we see later, not all of them make it out. Henry was deemed number 1, and after one of Brenner's early experiments showed just how strong Henry can be, Brenner tagged Henry with a special device called a soteria to keep his powers in check. And I gotta tell you guys, I am so excited for the new season. We are even having a Stranger Things watch party tonight, which reminds me, things might get a little bit wild, so I gotta take one of these.
Hey, what's that?
Oh my God, you look awful. What happened to you?
I was at a Halloween party.
Halloween was a month ago.
Yeah. It was a really good party.
That sucks, man, but I can totally relate. Like, especially as I get older, even a night of light drinking makes me feel rough the next day. And I don't want my body to get punished just because I had a drink. I want to be able to go to work or go to the gym. So, to avoid those rough mornings after drinking, I started using one of these. This is ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol, the sponsor of this video. And guys, ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol is one of my all-time favorite sponsors that we work with. Even when we're not working with them, I buy ZBiotics and stock it up at home. Hell, even before every party, I hand these out to my friends like they're party favors. This is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. You see, when you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. Now, it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. But of course, remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep so you can really feel your best tomorrow. Anytime I ever go out, I always take a ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. I don't want to suffer for having a good time and be stuck on the couch all day.
I feel like I'm stuck in a couch.
So this holiday season, make the most of every toast, tailgate, and touchdown by bringing Pre-Alcohol along for the ride. Go to zbiotics.com/ScreenCrush to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code ScreenCrush at checkout. ZBiotics is also backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they're going to refund your money, no questions asked. Give it a shot, you won't regret it. Now back to what I was saying. So, after one gets his inhibitor chip, he starts helping the doctor with his experiments on other children, becoming a part of the staff where he eventually befriended subject number 11. Now, he empathizes with her, and after teaching her how to access her powers better, he manipulates her into believing that Dr. Brenner and the others are trying to kill her. The conspiracy is enough to convince 11 to rip the soteria from his neck, at which point his mask fully comes off. He tells 11 to wait in the closet while he massacres everyone in the lab, from the guards to the subjects themselves. However, However, she doesn't listen, and when she sees what he did, she loses it. 11 unlocks a whole new skill tree as she not only sends Henry flying, but Thanos snaps him into another dimension, which we will later know as the Upside Down.
So like the floor is the ceiling and the ceiling is the floor?
Not quite. The world itself isn't literally upside down. It's just a mirror dimension that looks exactly like their own, only it's been taken over by some kind of horrific alien nightmare. Now, as Henry tries to survive, he telepathically links with these creatures, becoming one united hive mind and transforming him into Vecna. His name comes from Vecna the Archlich, an evil wizard turned lich necromancer after he was betrayed by one of his friends, just like Henry, but he didn't come up with the name himself. Instead, it was given that name by a bunch of D&D nerds from the 80s, which takes us to the first season of Stranger Things. Vecna begins to influence events in Hawkins after Dr. Brenner sends 11 to astral project into the Upside Down, where she encounters a Demogorgon and opens up a dimensional gateway in the Hawkins lab in Mirkwood. And then the Demogorgon escapes through this portal. The creature ends up kidnapping a young Will Byers, who disappears after a game of D&D with his friends. Afterwards, his friends and his mother Joyce and Police Chief Hopper begin a search for him. So this leads the rest of the party, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas, to find Subject 11, a mysterious girl with psychic powers escaped from a secret government lab. When they ask her if she knows where Will is, 11 flips a D&D board upside down and explains it to them, giving the dark dimension its iconic name.
The Upside Down.
Meanwhile, Mike's older sister Nancy and Will's older brother Jonathan investigate the disappearance of Nancy's best friend Barb, and they encounter the Demogorgon, which is another creature from the Upside Down named after a D&D monster that tries to drag its victims to the infinite abyss. Just like its D&D inspiration, the Demogorgon drags Will into the Upside Down, where he's implanted with an embryo, much like another classic movie monster, the Xenomorphs. However, his mother reaches him in the Upside Down through some of her Christmas lights, and with the help of Detective Hopper, Joyce enters the Upside Down to bring Will back into the real world, but that Demogorgon is still an issue. It corners them in a classroom, but 11 comes in clutch, vaporizing the creatures and herself in the process. So it seems like everything is normal now that Will is safe and sound, but the season ends with him coughing up a baby Demogorgon slug. This allows Vecna to access Will's thoughts and control him as part of the hive mind, which is what we see haunting him at the beginning of season 2. A year later, the Hawkins crew has gotten even bigger. They meet Max, a new skater girl with the highest score at the local arcade, and her older brother Billy, who becomes a rival to Steve, who is also known as the world's best babysitter. Steve is, of course, the ex-boyfriend of Nancy, and he has amazing hair.
It's Fabergé Organics.
Will is stuck with some interdimensional PTSD, seeing visions of the Upside Down even after losing the slug that has left his body. So Will starts drawing out his visions, introducing us to a new creature, a large shadow monster with tentacles, which Dustin names the Mind Flayer after yet another D&D character known for its creepy squid-like head and powerful psychic abilities. And speaking of Dustin, he also finds the baby Demogorgon, who he names Dart. He treats him like the manager of a video store until it eventually levels up enough to evolve into a Demo Dog, which is when it becomes a real problem, and Dustin enlists Steve to help. Now, Will's mom gets a new boyfriend, Bob, who helps them figure out that Will's drawings are actually a map for a network of underground tunnels, and that there must be a portal still open somewhere in Hawkins. Unfortunately, her new boo doesn't last long in the tunnels and ends up becoming Demagogue Chow. Meanwhile, 11 made it out alive, and Hopper has been taking care of her after baiting her with some Eggo waffles. But still, she runs away to Chicago, where she meets her mother and Callie, aka Number 8, yet another one of the Hawkins experiments that got out. 11 then returns to Hawkins with greater control of her powers and closes the gate to the Upside Down, causing the Mind Flayer to leave Will and the Demodogs to die and temporarily cutting off Vecna's access to Hawkins. Outside of the fresh new trauma they now have to process, they finally got their happy ever after. Max and Lucas get together at the school dance, and 11 is given the chance for a somewhat normal life after Hopper makes his pseudo-adoption legal. But the fairy tale only lasts for about 6 months, which takes us to season 3. It's the summer of 1985, and the new Starcourt Mall has transformed Hawkins. Everyone is pairing up. 11 and Mike are a thing, Lucas and Max are dating, and Dustin tries to convince everyone that he's got a girlfriend named Susie who lives in Utah. Even Steve has a new potential love interest named Robin, who is his co-worker at the Starcourt Mall Scoops Ahoy. However, just like everything else in Hawkins, the mall is just a front for a secret underground Russian base. The Soviets open up a new gate, giving Vecna another opportunity to enter Hawkins. He brings the Mind Flayer back in the flesh, literally, and uses these mystery meat monsters to infect people and possess the people of Hawkins, including Max's brother Billy. The crew infiltrates the base, and then Dustin proves that he was not lying about his girlfriend when he enlists her help to help access the Russian base, after some nostalgia bait radio karaoke. Everything comes to a head when the Mind Flayer goes full Cronenberg kaiju, crashes the 4th of July fair, and eventually ends up back at the mall. So 11 helps depossess Billy, who then sacrifices himself to save the group from the Mind Flayer, but Vecna takes some of 11's powers from her in the process. In the base below them, Hopper fights off the Russians but is presumed dead after Joyce overloads the machine to close the portal. However, he survives and is thrown into a Russian gulag. Once again, the day has been saved, but they're not nearly as happy this time around. The Byers family decides to finally do the smart thing and get the hell out of Hawkins, taking 11 with them to California. So this takes us to season 4, which kicks off their freshman year of high school. Will and 11's move to California split up the group. Lucas is a star athlete, while Dustin and Mike have found a new D&D group called the Hellfire Club, led by metalhead Eddie Munson. But after Chrissy, a cheerleader, is haunted by Vecna and brutally killed in Eddie's trailer, he is framed for the murder, which forces the group to get back together. They find out not only who Vecna is, but that he targets those consumed with guilt to justify killing them and open new gates into the Upside Down. The California crew also takes a few side quests of their own. Joyce receives a package from Russia revealing that Hopper is in a Russian prison fighting Demogorgons, so she enlists the help of her friend Murray to rescue Hopper from yet another Russian gulag. Meanwhile, Dr. Owens brings 11 to Project Nina to help her regain her powers and help in the fight against Vecna, where she runs into her old papa. Using homemade sensory deprivation chambers, she not only regains her powers, but also uncovers the full story of Henry Creel and his transformation into Vecna and their personal connection. When she tries to leave to tell the others, Brenner tries to keep her, leading to an epic pizza van getaway with Jonathan's new friend Argyle, who stays more stoned than a gravel road. The Hawkins crew discovers this connection to the Victor Creel murders, which they learn after visiting him in prison. He's played by Robert Englund, the original actor for Freddy Krueger, which makes sense since Vecna is a Freddy Krueger ripoff. Now they play a song for him that allows him to access memories that he had once forgotten, helping them not only to understand how powerful Vecna is, but also where he draws his power from. This comes in handy when Max is targeted by Vecna due to her emotional baggage, but she is saved when her friends put on her jam, Runnin' Up That Hill by Kate Bush. Now this moment made the song so popular that it topped the global billboards for weeks in 2022, nearly 4 decades after its first release. This revealed a critical weakness in Vecna's attacks. His telepathic hold can be broken through positively associated memories, like the warm fuzzies you get when you hear your favorite song. The Hawkins crew creates a multi-tiered plan to fight Vecna. First, they have to distract him by baiting him to the Creel house. While that's happening, the others enter the Upside Down, and this is where Eddie dies the most tragic yet especially metal death anyone could ever ask for. Max confronts Vecna, but her Walkman is destroyed, leaving her vulnerable, so 11 drops back into the sensory deprivation tank to telepathically throw hands. Vecna shows Nancy Wheeler that he plans to open 4 strategically aligned gates to fracture the divide between the dimensions, swallowing up Hawkins into the Upside Down, just before allowing her to escape and deliver the message to 11 herself. 11 confronts Vecna in Max's mind, saving Max, but putting her into a coma in the process. Vecna is sent back into the Upside Down, but nothing is preventing him from coming back, and much of the damage has already been done. Now the town is trying to rationalize the destruction, but it's clear to the entire crew their biggest fight is yet to come. The final shot shows the strange fungus-like disease that engulfs the Upside Down crossing over into Hawkins, setting us up for the climactic final season. And guys, that's everything you need to know before Stranger Things Season 5.
Wait, person, aren't you forgetting about somebody?
I don't think so, but if I did, I'm sure it wasn't that important. Anyways, that's everything you need to know before hopping onto the final season of Stranger Things. Are there any details we missed? And if you like this video, be sure to let me know in the comments, Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or our free to join Discord server. And if you hated it, yell at Dodd, he wrote the script for this one. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.